Okay, and we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful session of the GrowVeg Challenge 2.0. We have another guest speaker with us here today. I'll be speaking on the importance of effective nutrient management in crop production. And as usual, I'm your host, Chineyo Keze, social media manager for Leverage Seed Limited. I also have here with me my co-host, Opayemi. Please kindly introduce yourself.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adebisi Okoyemi, and I am the Communication and PR Manager for Leverage Fresh Limited. We are glad to have you here for this night's live session, and we have our convener for GrowVeg Challenge 2.0 here, and he will be speaking on importance of effective nutrient management in crop production. Kindly introduce yourself, sir. Dr.
Okay,
Abidemi.
thank you. Thank you very much, Chinaya and Adebisi. I'm so glad to be here tonight. I want to say good evening to our audience from across the globe. I'm so happy to be here tonight to share with you the importance of effective nutrient management in crop production. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, we have some questions for you here, sir. The first one I have is on common mistakes farmers make when it comes to nutrient application, which I know is one of your specialties, sir. And so, what are some of the common mistakes farmers make in nutrient application, and how would you advise them on how to avoid it?
Okay, thank you very much for that wonderful question, Nae. So, well, one of the mistakes that farmers make in common mistakes that farmers make in nutrient application is that they fail to do soil analysis before they go into their crop production. And when you fail to do the soil analysis, then you don't have the knowledge of the residual amount of the different important elements in your soil. And when you don't have that knowledge, then whatever you're applying just by trial and error, right? That's one thing I would say. So mostly farmers who don't do the soil analysis, they don't get to have information on the soil pH, and perhaps they are not sure of, they don't know whether the pH of the soil that they are using to grow their crop is going to actually allow for nutrient uptake by the crops. So this is one mistake that farmers make. Another mistake is that some of them over apply, the fertilizers. And for example, it's important for you to know that every crop has a nutritional requirement. Now, there are 16 important elements, and all these elements are required for effective crop growth and development. So you need to know, the requirements for your crop, and you also need to know the availability of these nutrients already in the soil. There's a difference between having a particular element present in the soil and compared to whether that particular element is available or not. So there is a portion of whatever is in the soil that is available for plant uptake. When you have soil analysis, you have this information. People who don't do the soil analysis, they don't have this information, right? So they over apply the fertilizer. So when they over apply fertilizers, they actually constitute problems, for the waterways. If you have runoffs, this becomes an environmental problem, right? And also sometimes when you over apply fertilizers, you actually cause what we call toxicity. There is also, sometimes also if you don't have enough knowledge, some farmers also are trying to waste money. They are not giving, they are trying to save money. They are not giving what is required by the plant to the plant. So they are giving less than what is required. And when you do that also, then you will cause what we call deficiency of some of the nutrients, in the crop. So these are some of the mistakes that farmers make. Another thing also that mistakes that farmers make also is that some of them, they apply nutrition in the inappropriate manner. I've seen some farmers that do broadcasting. Well, I'm not a fan of broadcasting method, right? Well, not that there might be some cases where you want to do broadcasting, right? But for me, I believe that sometimes where precision is needed, then you have to be precise with your application method. And that is why some of us, when we are doing application of fertilizers, we make holes, they're very close to the root zone. And then after applying, we also cover back the holes. This is going to help us, to protect the fertilizer, it will prevent it from, leaching off very quickly. Again, also, some of us also will utilize what we call plastic mulch. Plastic mulch, when you utilize plastic mulch, it's not just because you want to retain water in the root zone or you want to suppress weed alone. No, it also helps you, to retain your nutrients within the root zone. For example, somebody who is using plastic mulch on his field, there wouldn't be much leaching compared to somebody who is growing without plastic mulch under rain-fed conditions, right? So these are some of the ways that you can actually prevent the mistakes that others make in terms of wasting fertilizers when they are trying to do their crop production. Again, another thing I would like to add is that when you are also looking at precision, a lot of people now, we use water soluble fertilizers and we try to do fertigation. These are a bit more precise, and it helps you, to avoid wasting your fertilizers based on your knowledge of, the crop requirements and what you already have available in the soil for uptake by the crop. Then you are able to use your effective nutrition management to carry this out. Thank you very much. I don't know if I've answered your questions effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Another question I have for you. What are the key nutrients required for optimal crop growth? And how can farmers identify deficiencies in their soil?
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful question. So, well, there are 16 elements that are required, that have been identified as essential, for effective growth and development of any crop. And these elements have been categorized into three. The first are the macro elements. And the macro elements, you'll be talking about carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The second category are the secondary elements. And the secondary elements, you'll be talking about calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And the third category are actually the ones we refer to as the trace elements, and some people also call them the micro elements. So these elements are actually the ones, the likes of chlorine, molybdenum, boron, iron, manganese, copper, zinc. Now, I would like to quickly point out that these elements, none of them is more important than the other. So whether you call it macro or you call it secondary or you call it micro, the only difference is that some are required in more quantities than the others. So the ones that are the macro elements are the ones that are required in larger amounts. The ones that are the secondary elements are required in a bit lesser amount than the micro elements, than the macro elements. And the ones that are the trace elements are the ones that are required in very little amount. So the point I'm trying to make is that the deficiency of, a trace element is has as much impact as the deficiency of a macro element. So these are all important, and every of the requirements of the crop must be met for these 16 elements. And this is the answer to the first part of the question. The second part of the question is saying, how can farmers identify deficiencies in their soils? It's very simple. Through soil analysis, right? Because when you carry out soil analysis, which is
Yes.
what we advocate for, before you carry out your production, do soil analysis. There's no point, just going blindly to cultivate the crop without doing soil analysis. When you do soil analysis, you are able to profile the soil and know the residual amount of these important elements that are already available in your soil for plant uptake. Okay, I mentioned for plant uptake because, of course, it's not everything that is available in the plant that is available for plant uptake. So soil analysis will make you to know what amount of what is available in the soil for these different elements is available for plant uptake. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone who is watching is learning has learned one thing or the other from Dr. Abidemi. He has given us the insights on common mistakes farmers make when it comes to nutrient application. And now he has talked about the key nutrients required for optimal crop growth. So even if you want to learn more, please remember to visit GrowVeg.leveragefresh.com to register for GrowVeg Challenge 2.0. I want to use this opportunity to thank everyone who has joined us this evening. Afan, thank you so much. Good evening to you as well. Kindness, yes, good evening to you as well. James, you're welcome. Yes, it says good evening to Dr. Abidemi. We have We also have Victoria. Victoria says, "Good evening. Thank you so much." Ismail, you're welcome as well. Yes, it's wonderful to have you here with us as well. Thank you so much. Mr. Tunde, yes, doctor with powerful insights. Exactly. More than powerful. Thank you so much for the encouragement. We also have Bukola here with us as well. Yes, so Dr. Bukola has a question for us. She said, how
Okay.
do we do soil analysis?
Okay. So thank you very much for that wonderful question, sir. I think this question is from Daddy. Is one of the GrowVeg Challenge participants, and I'm so much excited to have you joining this session, sir. So basically, the soil analysis can be done by taking soil samples and sending to the labs. So we train participants, and thank God you are part of us already. You will be going through the training. You see how we take the soil samples on our field. There is a method also to take the soil sample. There's a depth. Some take at the 15 cm, some take at the 30 cm, but mostly between 15 and 30 cm, we take samples from different areas in the field, and we send to the lab for analysis, comprehensive analysis. So that is how we do the soil analysis. Also, we have some kits that could be used for soil analysis. So they are called, the soil testing kits. But we usually recommend that before you do the production, take samples from your field, send to the lab, and then subsequently during the growth cycle, if you want to conduct routine, monitoring of, the nutrient levels in your soil, then you can use the kit. So this is how we do that, sir. Thank you very much for that wonderful question. I appreciate.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. So, Bukola, I'm sure your question has been answered. We also have David Emmanuel. Yes, we are welcome. Great insights, Doctor. Thank you so much for the encouragement. Mr. Tunde as well. He says it's always a delight to listen to Dr. Talabi. Thank you so much. Yes, it is. Kenny is greeting. Yes, great challenge. Please remember to also join and register. Peter Akindele, yes, good evening to you as well. Endurance, good evening to you as well. The session is really interesting. Thank you so much for the words of encouragement. We have Victor Larinde. Yeah, so many people, doctors, many people are rooting for you this evening. We have so many people rooting for you this evening.
Thank you, everyone.
We also have Joe. Pleasure to be here. Let's become tap the one of knowledge. Yes, from our guru, Mister. Thank you, Mr. Ido. Please, you're always welcome to tap from knowledge, and Doctor is always willing to share his insights with everyone. You have Kenneth as well. You're welcome. Good evening, moderator and Doctor. Good evening to you as well. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we have Musaibu here who says among the 5 crops we want to understood is risky. I'm sure
Okay.
this
Now,
will
I think he's
be
one of the members of the. Yeah, I think. Thank you very much, and let me just respond to him. I think he's one of the participants of the GrowVeg.
thank
So don't worry. We are starting on the 13th, right? So don't be in a rush. All of this is what you are going to learn. You know, in during the GrowVeg
yes.
challenge, you are going to know the reasons why we even select these 5 crops in the first place, and we are even adding additional 2. We are adding onion and lettuce to the list of crops. So you are going to be having seven crops. So we are going to be having tomatoes, bell pepper, cucumber, cabbage, watermelon. Now we'll be having onion and also lettuce. So don't worry, we are going to take you through all the processes. And by the time you go through the 20 days online training, you are going to be able to select for yourself. Okay, so don't jump the gun. There are a lot of things to consider, in deciding on what to do, and then also the area where you are also plays a lot of role in choosing your final crop for the implementation phase. So just stay tuned. We are starting by 13th of January, so no, there is no problem at all, nothing to worry about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I'll hand over to my co-host, Opeyemi. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your responses so far. Thank you, Chineye. So my first
Thank you.
question to you, sir, is how does effective nutrient management contribute to increased crop yield? and profitability for vegetable farmers. How does effective nutrient management contribute to increased crop yields and profitability for vegetable farmers?
Okay. Thank you very much for that amazing question, Opeyemi. Well, what I would just say is that, if you manage your nutrients effectively, and what do I mean? You start by having your soil analysis done. So that means you know the basal, residual amount of nutrients in your soil for a start. The second thing is that you know the crop requirements. That means what is the requirement of this particular crop that I want to produce? How much nitrogen does it require for the entire cycle? How much potassium? What about the trace elements? By the time you know all of this, and then you prepare a comprehensive crop production fertilizer management plan, which is what we do. We have, for example, if our cucumber is spending 90 days on the field, from day 1 to day 90, we highlight what is required by the crop. And by the time we get our soil analysis, we are able to know how much to make up, from the time we start growing the cucumber, and then we continue from there. We do all of this, and by the time we do that, of course, some things happen. It's not like when you do all of this, there wouldn't be issues during this. Sometimes some things will come up, and you are able to know whether you need to address some deficiencies or not. Yeah, but by the time you do all of this and you are meeting the crop requirement, obviously you would have optimum yield. Another thing to know is that just like little babies, when we are like human beings, when a child is young, you are giving milk, right? By the time the child begins to grow, you begin to give solid food. The same thing applies to the crop. So earlier stages, you know that the nutritional requirements are a bit lesser. We have the exact requirements, and this is what we give to people during the GrowVeg challenge. So you know what to apply when you are in the vegetative stage. By the time you are going to flowering, you know what is required as well, right? Then by the time you are going to the fruiting stage, you know what is required. And you also know that after fruiting, the absorption of nutrients by the crop drops also, right? So all of this, by the time you're able to do that, you will be so amazed that your crop will give you the optimum production. So that means you are going to have the optimum productivity in terms of the yield and the quality of the produce. That is number one. And when you are able to attain this, you didn't waste fertilizer because you applied what is required. You didn't give less than required. That means you are not going to impact negatively on the production of the crop. So automatically, when you have your optimum yield, then you're also going to have optimum profitability. So that is how, effective management can actually help a farmer, to have profit, improve profit from his vegetable production. I believe I answered that question.
Yes,
Thank
yeah,
you. Let me know
definitely.
if you're not
You
satisfied.
answered more than answered. You answered it
Yeah.
well. Thank you, sir. So my next question is,
Yes, sir.
what are the signs of nutrient deficiencies or toxicities in common vegetable crops, and how can they be addressed promptly? What are the signs of nutrient deficiencies or toxicities in common vegetable crops, and how can they be addressed promptly?
Okay. Thank you very much for this wonderful question. So, well, the first thing I want to say is that when you say deficiency, that means, there is less than required for the plant, right? And when you say toxicity, that means you are putting more than required. So the plant is choking, right? So, and it's important to say when you are saying deficiency, sometimes it doesn't mean that you have not applied the required amount of the fertilizer, right? Sometimes you have applied the required amount, but maybe the pH level of the soil is not within the range that allows for proper absorption of the nutrients. Usually, the absorption range is 5.5 to 6.5, right? So if you didn't have the knowledge earlier and you didn't pay attention to your pH, you might do every other thing right, but that alone can actually result to deficiency, right? Again, if you're applying more than required, for example, on a daily basis, no crop can absorb more than 4 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare. No crop, right? And the minimum absorption rate also for nitrogen on a daily basis for any crop is about 1.5 kilograms per hectare. So you need to know this, right? The same thing applies to phosphorus. When you are talking about phosphorus, we are talking about 0.3 to 0.7 kilograms per hectare for any crop. That is the range. So you need to know all of this. I'm mentioning this because When you do less than that, it can lead to deficiency. When you do more than that, it can lead to toxicity. So there are specifics for every crop, and people don't pay attention to this. They just believe that, oh, NPK now, just put NPK there. So these are just okay. These are the first things I wanted to mention. So what are the signs? One of the common signs, when you have nitrogen deficiency, for example, you know that the older leaves become they begin to turn yellow. This is a common sign that we all know. The younger, the older leaves of the plant, right? And when you are talking about a sign of deficiency, if you are talking about for phosphorus, for example, then you begin to see that the leaves are turning dark green, and then you are having this purplish coloration, right? Then when you are talking about the likes of potassium, right? You are seeing dark brown, or probably this yellowish coloration on the edges of the leaves. These are some signs of deficiency, and when you begin to see them, then you know what to do, right? You need to apply what is not in the right amount. You need to check your pH. You need to a lot of things. Then, for example, if you have nitrogen in toxic in excessive amounts in the for the plant, then the plant continues to blossom, right? When it's supposed to transition into flowering and fruiting stage, it is not doing that. It's remaining in the vegetative stage and just blossoming. Everything is getting green, but the growth is stunted because it's not transitioning into the different stages of growth and development. So these are some of the signs, that you need to look out for. And for example, now you are saying, how can this be addressed promptly? There are ways to address these things. When there are deficiencies and you have seen them, you apply what is deficient. You check, your pH of the soil. Again, also, there's what we call electrical conductivity. Mostly for vegetables, between 1.5 and 3 decicem is what is actually allowed. Sorry, excuse me. And when I say 1.5 to 3.5, it's still for different categories of vegetables as well. The leafies, there is what they can tolerate. When you're talking about cucumber and tomatoes, these ones can tolerate between 1.5 to about 3 decicem. But when you're talking about the leafy, like this lettuce and all that, you are talking about 1 to about 1.5, right? So all of these are things you have to check. And when you check them and you see that you are able to see where the problem is coming, and then you are able to address this promptly. So these are the ways to check and then address the deficiencies and then the toxicities accordingly. And again, for somebody who did soil analysis before starting the production, you would have had some of this information. If your soil was toxic, for some specific elements, even before you started, you would have known what to do in terms of amending the soil and all of this. So that would be my answer for now. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, sir. This is entirely a live session for the GrowVeg Challenge 2.0, because these are the things the participant need to know and need to understand before going to the vegetable production. And I'm glad that some of our registered participants are on the call and they're already having insight into this knowledge and techniques to apply in vegetable production. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We have Mr. Victor, and it's really appreciating you guys educating, listening to Dr. Abidemi Talabi. And we also have Mr. Kenneth. Great news, Dr. Abidemi. We are adding more, the great news, they are adding more crops to the number of crops that we already have. So they are happy that we are adding more crops to the number of crops. And we also have question from Papi. Is the registration still going on? Definitely, it's still going on. You can always visit goveg.leveragevet.com, or you send a DM to us on our Facebook page. We'll be sure to respond as soon as possible to guide you on the registration. And Mr. Agronomist, you drop your email and your phone number. We'll reach out to you, or you can as well visit our website to register on goveg.leveragevet.com to register for the GrowVeg Challenge 2.0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Esther. Very educative. In fact, more than educative. I'm glad you are really learning from this session. And we look forward to the live session when it starts by January 13. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you so much. I'll be handing over to my co-host, Chineye.
Thank you so much, Opeyemi. And thank you so much, Doctor, for the wonderful insights you've given us so far. I'm sure the audience here they've learned so much from you. So the question I have for you this evening is on sustainable nutrient management practices. So, Doctor, what sustainable nutrient management practices can farmers adopt to maintain soil health over the long term?
Okay. Thank you very much for that amazing question, Neye. So I will start anytime I want to talk about anything sustainability, I usually like to define it, right? So what is sustainability? Sustainability is your ability, is you meeting your need in the present without compromising your potential to meet your need in the future or the potential of future generation to meet their own needs. So when you are talking about sustainable nutrient management practices, that means the farmer wants to manage his land in such a way that the nutrition, the land will remain fertile, you know, over a long period of time, so he can continue to use the land to grow his crop. Okay, so anybody who wants to do this is a whole comprehensive strategy. It's not something, it's something you have to know, have an in-depth knowledge about. So I'm going to be sharing some of these practices. Many have heard about it, but maybe they don't just know how to incorporate. So I will be sharing that now in a bit. The first thing is that we always encourage people to do what we call crop rotation. So that means you are not growing the same crop in and out of season. So maybe you are growing tomatoes now and you remove tomatoes, you have to rotate with another crop, right? For example, maybe a leguminous crop. Tomato is a heavy feeder. We expect that if you replace with a legume, maybe soybean or something like this, it can help you, you know, number one, it will break the disease cycle. Number two, it will help nutrient recycling. Number three, it will help to improve the soil structure, right? So these are sustainable practices. That is number one. Number two also is that when you are off season, don't just leave your land like that. Plant cover crops. Hmm? Don't just leave the land like that. You can plant mokuna. Some people will even plant maybe clover and the likes. So you plant these crops, they help you to protect the land and all that. Then when you are back in season, you can incorporate them as green manure, you can take them off or whatever. But that has helped you also to protect your land. Is a sustainable approach. Another thing also is that we always recommend that people should do what we call integrated nutrient management. You understand? The integrated nutrient management. Now, let me explain what I mean. When you are trying to grow your crop, the first thing is that you want to have the knowledge of how much nutrients are in your soil. What is the residual amount, right? Which are available for plant uptake. And the second thing is that you want to know what is the requirement of my crop in terms of all the elements that are essential for its proper growth and development. So when you have this knowledge, you want to now find a way to meet the need of this particular crop in the exact manner that it needs it. Okay? So now you are now going to incorporate both organic and inorganic fertilizers to meet the requirements. This is what we call integrated nutrient management. Now, I love organic production, right? I love organic production. All of us are now advocating for organic, purely organic, and all of that. But you all know also that it's a bit more costly to produce organic, to carry out organic production if you are not using fertilizers, if you are not doing this integrated nutrient management that I mentioned, right? So, but we are doing integrated nutrient management. We incorporate both organic and inorganic to meet the need of the crop, based on our knowledge of what is in the crop. I mean, what is in the soil before starting and what the crop requires. That's number one. So I've mentioned that also. That's another sustainable management practice. Another thing also is that people also do. Sometimes you encourage diversity in your field, right? Biodiversity. So sometimes we are not producing just one particular crop at a time. When you have your crop calendar, there are some crops that you can produce simultaneously, especially after you have done your market research. You know the market trends and the requirements and all of that, because you don't produce blindly. You produce when you know that your crop will be available in the market when it commands the highest and premium price, right? So all of this, these are some sustainable practices. Sustainable practices. Also, people do what we call this zero tillage or minimized tillage. When you do that, it helps you to protect your topsoil. It doesn't expose, it helps to retain what will I call it? This ability of your soil to retain water, to prevent it from erosion and all of these things. So people practice what we call minimum tillage or zero tillage. So all of these are sustainable practices that could be adopted, to maintain the soil health. Again, we do what we call manuring over and again, right? Because you want to always incorporate, organic manure into your soil to improve the soil health, microbial activities, and all of these things. So these are sustainable agricultural practices that, we recommend for farmers to carry out if they want to be sustainable in their production. And all of these things that I've mentioned are things that we do in our own field, and we also teach people who join the GrowVeg Challenge how to do this. These are just the strategies. I hope I answered your questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful one. And I want to urge our listeners to please take notes and also ensure to register at www.growveg.leveragefresh.com for the GrowVeg Challenge 2.0. There's still time for you to register. The training has not yet commenced. Doctor, I have another question for you. But this is in terms of the technologies and tools that farmers can use in their nutrient management. So, what technologies or tools are available to help farmers monitor and manage soil nutrients effectively?
Hmm. Thank you very much for that amazing question. So, well, basically, you know that there are a lot of now the world is getting advanced, and there are a lot of things that makes life so easy for everyone. The first thing that I would mention that a farmer can actually use to monitor and manage nutrient effectively, the first is this soil testing kit. Initially I mentioned that you can take your soil samples before you start growing your crops and send to the lab, but subsequently to monitor the soil, the nutrient levels of your soil, you can use the soil kit. So the soil kit is just this small kit that can allow you to take soil sample. It's not very expensive. In fact, my team can share with you some of the the soil kits that we have also. You can easily take your soil sample, and from that you can know what is the soil pH, what is the moisture content, and all of these things. This is readily available even with most of the agro dealers in Nigeria, right? And that is one. Another thing also is what we call the soil sensors. The soil sensors now are beginning to be available also even in countries like Nigeria, where you can easily know your nutrient levels because you have sensors in the soil that are giving you the information on the nutrient levels. So you can easily know what is the nitrogen level, potassium, phosphorus, and even some are giving you information on the trace elements as well. So these are things that farmers can easily use. Don't just assume that I'll just plant, I'll just put NPK, it doesn't work like that. You are shortchanging yourself, right? So these are part of the things. Then in advanced countries, people use remote sensing technologies, GIS. There's even what they call this variable rate technology, where specifically different areas of your field, what the different areas require, and exactly what is required by the different area in terms of fertilizer is applied. So these are already technologies in use, and I believe that also we'll soon get these technologies to Nigeria. If they are not already there, I believe maybe there are some that are already using them, but we are not just aware of them, right? Also, people use this decision support, tools now. There are a lot of decision support systems or apps that people use to manage nutrition, and then they are able to easily, before they even grow their crop, they're able to know what to do. Sometimes also there is this app, we call it Plantix. I don't know if we now have the one that is locally developed for the Nigerian conditions. Plantix helps a lot of people. By the time you monitor your crop, it will even tell you, oh, you're having this deficiency based on the symptoms on the crop, or things like this. Even Plantix sometimes can help people to even give you recommendations for fertilizer and all of this. So these are already tools that are available that people are probably not aware of, or they just choose not to use. So thank you very much. That would be my response for that. I appreciate.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful one. I'm sure people are looking to adopt these technologies you shared with them and also these tools to monitor their soil nutrients going forward. and I'm sure they also adopt the same when they participate in the GrowVeg challenge. So now I'll be handing over to my co-host, Okoyemi. Okoyemi, in case you have any other question for Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Even without my question, we already have a lot of questions in the comment section for you, sir. So, Juwon is asking, as the challenge 2.0 started fully, he actually posted it from to the private chat. Yet it has not started fully. You still have the opportunity to register between now and January 10th for early birds. So you can visit our website www.govegchallenge.com or goveg.levageveg.com to register and use the opportunity of the early birds to join us. And we also have questions from the audience. The network challenge, you also have the opportunity to rewatch this live session across all our social media handles. You can visit the StreamYard link and you can also watch on our Facebook page to rewatch this live session and to gain insights to all what Dr. Abidemi Talabi has said on this topic. You don't have anything to miss about the topic at all. You don't have anything to miss. So we have question from the audience, but before then, let me ask my last question, sir, before we move to the audience. So, how can participants of the GrowVeg challenge integrate effective nutrient management practices into their vegetable production?
Okay. Thank you very much. That's a very wonderful question, Okoyemi. So, well, participants of the GrowVeg challenge, you are saying, how can they? They are going to, because we are going to force them to integrate effective nutrient management practices. Actually, we already have a comprehensive crop nutrition plan for each of the crops that we are teaching or we are training the participants on. So from day one, for example, for cucumber, which we assume we spend 90 days in the field, from day one to day 90, all the things you'll be doing on a daily basis is already there in terms of nutrition management, pest and disease management, prevention, not even curative now. There is prevention and there is cure when you are talking about pest and disease management, because your knowledge of the crop and the time that is vulnerable to attacks from the different pests and diseases can help you to have preventive measures as well, right? So we already have all of this production plan that we are sharing with our participants. And then we are going to also be encouraging participants to carry out their soil analysis before they start. So once that is done, they are going to be able to know amount of fertilizers to apply and the time to apply, the right way to apply. All of this will be taught. And by the time they do all of that also, then we already mentioned, sustainable agricultural practices, which we mentioned earlier in terms of nutrient management. Will also be all of these they are going to be having access to. They will be taught all of these things, and we believe that under our supervision and using our production guide, they would have no excuses at all but to implement the right strategies, for effective nutrient management. And this is why I'm always saying it's not just about having the right knowledge. Sometimes you need to be in the right association. You need to be in the midst of other people who are doing what you are doing and going where you are going. And again, you need to have people who would hold you accountable. Okay, imagine me putting a call across to you. If that's my plan, I'm calling all the participants before the end of this week, right? And this is what I'm going to be doing before, even during the challenge. I will be calling them, and I'm not just me. The program management is calling the other lecturers are calling instructors, and also even the vegetable production supervisor. So we're going to be calling. I will be asking you questions. What are you doing, right? So you don't have a choice. We'll force you to do the right thing. So that is the way that participants of GrowVeg Challenge can actually integrate effective nutrient management. They are going to be using our production guide, and we are still going to be holding them accountable to be sure that they are doing the right thing. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm glad the participants are listening right now to this wonderful opportunity that will be yielding to them. Thank you very much, sir. So we have questions from the audience, and if you can answer them, but if not, I'm very sure the answers will be provided for them from the live session when we officially start the GoVeg Challenge 2.0. So we have question from Papi. What can we get? What can we get full potential of our land when the topsoil has been totally removed by
Yeah,
a
guy.
payloader?
You pay the loader to remove it. Yeah, sometimes these are some things that you get to experience. It's a bit it's not a good experience when the topsoil is removed, right? It becomes really difficult to get the plant to be productive because you have removed like the most important part of the soil, right? So when it is removed, you want to know what you can do. Well, some of the things you can do is that you can try to amend the soil, right? But it's going to be really, really expensive. Okay. This is just the truth. Once the topsoil is removed, you are going to really spend much to revive the soil. You can amend the soil using organic matter like maybe manure and all of this thing. Then also, you might need to leave the land, to fallow for a while. Okay, you might need to leave it to fallow for a while. Then also, if you're able to buy topsoil, some people buy topsoil and they come back and use it where it has been removed. If you have the money to do that one also, you can do it. But basically, it's going to be really challenging for you to get it done. And that's why we always advise that prevention is better than cure. So if you're able to prevent this from happening to your soil, then it's good. But if it has happened, try all these methods. Try soil amendment using manure. Try using cover crop. Try leaving it to fallow for a while and see how best it goes. That would be my few suggestions. Anyway,
Okay.
I've not been used to producing on crops that the topsoil has been removed before. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have another question from Abdubasit. What are the levels of complexity of nutrient management in soil versus soilless media?
Okay. Thank you very much for that wonderful question. Well, what we just say is very simple. It's more complex for you to manage nutrients in soils compared to soilless media because in soilless media, you are a bit more precise, right? And then one thing I know some of you might know about the Muda chart that helps you to know the interaction between the different elements that the plant require. Some of them are synergistic and some of them are antagonistic. Okay. When it's in the soil, so many things are playing out in the soil, right? But when it's in soilless media, it's like you have something that in soilless media mostly it's just like you are the one putting everything you need. Okay, so it's easier for you. It's easier for you in soilless media compared to when you are using the soil. But somehow also we have observed from experience that what you produce in the soils, they taste better than what you produce in soilless media. Anyway, I don't want to argue on that, but this is my experience. I still prefer what I produce in my soil compared to what I produce on soilless media. That is my personal experience anyway. But the
Thank you, sir.
complexity is more when you are doing it in the soil. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So from Peter, what is the advantage of using agric lime on the soil before planting?
Okay, so actually, sometimes when you do your soil testing, you observe that the soil is acidic. Okay, so when you see that your soil is acidic and that particular level of acidity might not allow the nutrients to be available in the soil, then you want to increase the pH, right? So you apply lime. Okay, so when you lime the soil, it helps you to increase the pH, and by the time you increase the pH, then the soil becomes okay, and then the nutrients are available for the plants to uptake. That's it. So that's why people apply lime. I hope I answered that.
Yes, you did. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you, sir. Oh, can you explain from Afan? Can you explain more about the soil nutrient sustainability?
Okay, soil nutrient sustainability. I think that was what we discussed the other time, talking about sustainable approaches for nutrient management, right? So if you
Yes.
want your soil nutrient to be sustainable, right, you have to be able to manage the soil in such a way that the soil will stay fertile in the now and in the future. And that was what we mentioned. There are a lot of approaches that you have to use. You have to incorporate crop rotation. You have to use cover cropping. Some people practice what we call minimum or low zero tillage. All of this you have to use. And I also explained about integrated nutrient management. And that was when I mentioned that when you know how much nutrients you have in your soil and the crop requirement, it gives you an opportunity to plan a comprehensive fertilization program that helps to meet the need of the crop. And when you do that, that means you are not giving in excess, and you are not also giving, in less than required. So when you're able to do that, these are sustainable practices. I also mentioned the use of cover crops. So those are the things you can do. You can just watch the replay. I think I mentioned it in next. I described these things earlier so that we don't just waste much time. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you, sir. Oh, from Abdubasit, can Fox in Ghana be a part of the GrowVeg challenge? If yes,
Yes,
how?
please.
Yeah.
Yes, we have now. You can pay through seller. Through seller, you can pay in different currencies. We have participants already who joined us from the UK. We have participants from Angola already as part of the people in the waiting room. We have a lot of people from Nigeria, and we have a lot of people who have been making. I received a lot of inquiries also from people from the US and also from Germany. So it's not, you can join from anywhere in the world, including Ghana. Okay, so you can just, if you go to www.growveg.leverywfresh.com, you can see the link for you to make payment in different currencies. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. Oh, thank you, Mr. Samuel. Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. We'll force you to do the right thing. He captured that when you said that. So he said he loves that. So we are here with you fully when you join the GrowVeg Challenge 2.0. Please, I'm from US and I'm really interested by learning about your knowledge. How do we call the type of your farming technique? How can I join your class?
Okay. So thank you very much for that wonderful question. Yeah, I've been receiving a lot of inquiries from the US. So, and I've some people, I can also provide my PayPal. People can pay through that to join. It's just about, I think, $15 or something if you convert from 25,000. So basically, well, if you ask me what is our own farming technique, I will call it a sustainable farming technique, right? But well, the good thing is that we are going to be training people on both open field and controlled environment agriculture. So the interesting thing about our program is that you can learn both from the 20 days online training. You are going to learn about open field and controlled environment production of vegetables. And after that, you will now decide based on your own resources and the conditions in your environment whether you want to now produce, you want to now implement the knowledge in open field or you want to implement it under controlled environment. That will be left to the participants. But like I mentioned, we are going to be following up with you, and we will be implementing also in our field, right? So you see what we are doing, and you can replicate the same. And then we're also going to be guiding you. You have the production guide. We're also going to follow up, hold you accountable and all of these things. So you can easily join the class. Just visit www.growveg.leverywfresh.com and you see the link. You can pay with seller. I think it's about $13, and then you will be part of the class. We are starting on the 13th of January 2025. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. How can we manufacture our own manure from Musibao? And I think this will be
Well,
okay.
I think we are going to be having too many questions
Question.
tonight, which we might not. All of these things are questions that will always come. We have all the answers for you. For some of you who have not had access to our free production guide for tomatoes, we have free production guide for everybody. Just go and check that one alone. It will give you a tip of what you are going to get from us. I don't believe we can answer all questions. I see so many questions. I don't know when it will end. And this session is supposed to be for 30 minutes. So
This already.
I will just now we are on 49 minutes going to 50. So well, whatever it is, I have another meeting actually. That's why I might not be able to stay for long. I have another
Thank you
meeting in
very
another
much, sir.
10
Yeah.
minutes, I think.
Thank you very much, sir. I believe
Yeah.
you get all your answers when you join us at the GrowVeg
Don't
Challenge.
worry, we are going to try to respond to the answers because I need to join another meeting in 10 minutes from now. So I will not be able to stay. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I thought this was 30
Thank you
minutes.
very much, sir. Thank you all for
Yes.
joining us tonight. Thank you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And one
Yeah.
of our participants she's really excited to she can't wait for 13th of January to kickstart officially.
Thank
Voila
you.
for who not register. I hope other participants that have not registered are seeing this now. So
Yeah.
kindly visit our website to register as soon as possible and make use of the opportunity of early bird. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We look forward to
Yeah.
having you in our next live session coming up in 2 days' time. We'll surely post it across all our social media handles. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.
And
Let me just add also, in case you can send me a DM also, and I will just directly answer your questions after now. But it will not be immediately, it will be after my meeting. Then I can respond to your questions as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
that's fine.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye for now.
you. Bye bye. Bye
Bye,
everyone. Have a wonderful time. I appreciate
everyone.
it. Okay.